Do you know what it feels like to be a ghost in your own family? To walk into a room full of people who share your blood and feel invisible? That's my story. My name is Lena Marlowe. I'm 34 years old, and last summer I decided to break a cycle I'd been trapped in my entire life. It started the night I walked into my parents' house with news that should have changed everything. Instead, it tore us apart. Growing up in our home in Mesa, Arizona, I was always the afterthought. My brother Ethan, the brilliant software engineer, could trip over his own shoelaces and somehow it became a story about his genius. My sister Claire, a sharp-tongued lawyer downtown, was the princess, the trophy child. And me, I organized events, weddings, fundraisers, galas. A career I built with my own hands. A career that paid the bills and gave me purpose. But to my parents, Robert and Elaine, it was just goo. A hobby. I can still hear my mother's voice, syrupy with condescension. That's sweet, Lena, but when are you going to get a real job? What they didn't see were the nights I stayed up until dawn fixing vendor disasters. The clients who cried with gratitude when their once-in-a-lifetime moments went perfectly. None of that mattered. In their eyes, I was the spare. But here's what no one knew. Behind the scenes, I was the one keeping the Marlowe family afloat. Month after month, I wired $1,500 so they wouldn't lose their house. When my dad needed surgery, I covered $3,000 without blinking. I even paid $5,000 to help Claire finish law school when she was drowning. They never asked how I managed it. They just expected it. The only person who ever noticed was my grandfather, Henry. Every Sunday he'd call me and say, "Kid, you're bleeding yourself dry for people who don't even clap for you." I'd laugh it off, because wasn't that what family was for? To sacrifice?
But the truth? I was tired. Last spring, I earned a promotion, senior project manager, a title I had clawed my way up to. Alongside that, the love of my life, Mark, had slipped a ring on my finger under the desert stars. For the first time in years, I had good news, real news. And foolishly, I thought maybe, just maybe, it would finally make them see me. I spent weeks preparing. I even made them a gift, a leather-bound photo album, packed with decades of memories, carefully captioned, decorated with little notes. It wasn't just an album. It was my way of saying, I still love us. I still want to belong. That evening, I drove to the house with the album tucked under my arm, my promotion letter in my purse, and Mark's ring glinting under the soft porch light. My heart pounded. Maybe tonight would be different. But as soon as I stepped inside, I knew better. Dad was bragging to a neighbor on the phone about Ethan's startup. Mom was beaming at Claire's latest real estate deal. I stood there, holding my gift, waiting to be seen. "I brought something for you guys," I said softly. My mother glanced up, waved her hand dismissively. "Just put it somewhere, Lena." I felt 12 years old again. Invisible. At the table, it was the same. Ethan scrolled his phone. Claire bragged about her clients, and my father carved chicken while praising everyone but me. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I cleared my throat. My hands were shaking, but my voice cut through the chatter. "I have news." For the first time all night, the room went silent. For pairs of eyes locked on me. "I was promoted to senior project manager," I said, my voice steady. "And Mark and I are engaged." For half a heartbeat, I saw something flicker. Maybe surprise, maybe silence that could have turned into pride. But then, my father slammed his fork down, the sound like a gunshot. "You are the most useless child in this family," he spat. "Planning parties? That's not a career. Why can't you be more like Ethan? Or Claire?" My mother smirked. Claire let out a cruel laugh. Ethan didn't even look up, just grinned at his phone. That was the moment something broke in me. Or maybe something finally healed. I could have screamed, listed every bill I'd paid, every sacrifice I'd made. I could have begged them to see me. But instead, I smiled, a slow, deliberate smile that made them falter. Without a word, I pushed back my chair, the scrape of wood against tile louder than all their voices. I picked up my purse and walked to the door. "Where do you think you're going?" Dad's voice boomed behind me. I didn't answer. The door shut, and for the first time in my life, it felt like freedom. Sitting in my car, the warm Arizona night pressing against my skin, I pulled out my phone. My hands were steady. I typed one message into the family group chat. No more money. Good luck. Send. Screen off. Done. That night, I chose myself. The next morning, I woke up to 42 missed calls from Mom. In the middle of them, one text from Dad. Just one word. Please. I didn't feel guilt. I felt calm. So I told the truth. In that same group chat, I wrote, since I'm useless, let's be clear. For years, I've covered your mortgage. $1, $500 a month. I paid for Dad's surgery. $3,000. And Claire, I gave you $5,000 for law school. You're welcome. And then, silence. Hours later, my grandfather Henry called me. His voice was rough but proud. Good for you, kid. I told him off myself this morning. They've been bleeding you dry, and you finally cut the cord. I'm proud of you. At their house, my truth hit like a grenade. Without my money, foreclosure notices landed on the doorstep. Claire's business faltered. Ethan's startup collapsed under debt. And for once, their fights weren't about me being a disappointment. They were about losing the one person they'd leaned on. I didn't hear their shouting. I didn't need to. Henry told me later how they turned on each other, scrambling for someone to blame. I just sipped my coffee, planning a gala for a client, my ring catching the sunlight. It's been months since that night. I haven't spoken to them. Not because I'm angry, but because I'm free. For the first time in my life, I'm not carrying their weight. Here's the truth. Sometimes the family you're born into will never see you. Sometimes you have to choose yourself, even if it means walking away from everything familiar. So let me ask you, if you were in my place, sitting at that table with every insult echoing in your chest, would you have fought back? Or would you have walked out like I did? Tell me in the comments. Because maybe your story isn't so different from mine.